it up with a solid curve of creatures, then you can actually leverage some of those early advantages.
Brenda Smith is the opponent on a Jund Dragons deck list, so we'll see what that brings to the table. I've got 4 Thunderbreaker Regents, 4 Stormbreath Dragons, 2 Dragonlord Tarkin, and then 2 Dragonlord Culligan. 3 Draconic Roars, a couple copies of Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker, so it looks like a little bit what Chris Van Meter was able to win Syracuse with, but a Black Splash.
Maybe a little bit closer to Gerard Fabiano's Jund list. Gerard's was a bit more controlling than this, I would say.
Yeah.
But a lot of the same elements.
We'll see how things do go here between these two players as we are underway here in round number 2 between Smith and Mondello. A Temple of Abandon started things off for Smith, and we'll see what Jake is able to put together on his first turn. We'll get to see exactly how this Black Splash works out too. Dragonlord Culligan, certainly a very powerful card that has not seen a lot of play yet.
Back in my day, Rorik's was pretty awesome.
Yes, things have changed a little.
Things have definitely changed, this is true. Arguably easier to cast Rorik's, or at least a Rorik's that's easier to incorporate into several decks.
Smith with a copy of Haven of the Spirit Dragon, just a passing the turn, so no acceleration. Here's a Thoughtseize from Mondello off his Sandsep Citadel, so we'll get to see what Brenda is working with. You see a Stormbreath Dragon, let's make it 2 of those, an Outpost Siege, a Draconic Roar, a Dragonlord Tarka, and a Bloodstained Mire.
So it's pretty hard to take a dragon here because there's a lot of them. So
Indeed.
This feels like Outpost Siege versus Draconic Roar, depending on whether or not Jake has something like Fleece Mane Lion. Draconic Roar seems like the superstar of this hand because the game's likely to go on for a very long time. Brenda's hand's at risk of kind of stalling on lands here, and Outpost Siege can be very powerful in these kind of games.
And Jake going to take a look at his hand. Does have another copy of Thoughtseize over there. Draconic Roar as well. There goes the Outpost Siege, as you mentioned. Jake will play a Temple of Malady. Take a look at the top card. It's going to stay on top. He'll pass the turn back. Smith will draw. Mondello, a former Open Series champion last year during Season 3 when we were in Washington, D.C. Got the job done in Legacy with Shardless Sultai. Back to Mondello we'll go. Does have a Temple of Silence. Also has a copy of Llanowar Waste. Here's a Courser of Crufix. Top card for Jake is a Windswept Heath. And a passing of the turn. Smith will leave that Bloodstained Mire in play, not willing to sacrifice that just yet.
Brenda is definitely on the search for lands right now, so
Indeed.
thinning out the deck of lands does not make a lot of sense.
Looks like land number 4 has been found. It's a Temple of Abandon. That could lead to land number 5, and the dragons could come raining down. We'll see. Draconic Roar, as powerful as that card is, cannot take care of Courser of Crufix. Top card going to go to the bottom there for Brenda Smith. And Mondello will untap and draw that Windswept Heath for the turn. Top card of the deck after that is Temple of Malady. So we'll see if he wants to take that land drop on top of the deck or not. Looks like he will, which means he'll gain life and get the Scry. Mastery of the Unseen is the top card for him. We'll see how Mondello wants to scry here.
Mastery to me right now feels a little bit on the slow side, and Jake might be more on the hunt for things like Hero's Downfall. It's hard to give up because it's a pretty attractive spell, but it just feels like a little bit too slow for the type of game that Brenda's trying to set up here.
And Jake is even a little unsure of himself what he wants to do. You see his hand with the Death Mist Raptor and a Thoughtseize. A couple of lands in hand. Looks like Mastery of the Unseen is going to go to the bottom. Top card is Den Protector. Of course, will come into the red zone. That part's easy. Smith will go down to 18. And now maybe a Death Mist Raptor.
I'm not a huge fan of Death Mist Raptor on this spot,
okay,
because he knows about Draconic Roar, and this is just allowing Brenda to curve her removal spell into potentially her dragons.
Sure. I do think you have to take the opportunity to get that Death Mist Raptor off the table if you can. That's exactly what's going to happen there, Stormbreath Dragon.
I think I would have preferred for Jake just to Thoughtseize that turn instead of casting the Death Mist Raptor.
Sure.
I know this is more mana efficient, but it's also a lot more mana efficient from Brenda's side of the table as well.
Smith will draw. Here's 3 mana. Could be time for that Courser that was stuck in hand. And it is. Take a look at the top card. It's a Forest. Whiteboard and all, we'll have to have a talk with her after the match about that.
It's not great.
No. Bloodstained Mire, now the next card. Perhaps it's time for an Elvish Mystic. It is. So mana is online. Dragons are in hand, and they're going to come raining down here very soon as we'll go back Mondello's way. He'll be drawing a Den Protector for the turn.
And Jake gets a pretty nice turn here of Thoughtseize and Dromoka's Command if he wants it, which Dromoka's Command can kill both of Brenda's creatures, and Thoughtseize can take one of the 2 dragons. Still not an immediate answer to the one of the 2 Stormbreath dragons, but this is not a bad turn.
Will use Dromoka's Command. Courser will fight the Elvish Mystic and then sacrifice an enchantment mode as well. The old 2-for-1. Bloodstained Mire, that's going to have to stay on top of the deck, I believe, yeah. There we go. Because there's one in play that she wants to sacrifice, not the one on top of the deck, so this is an easy fix.
Right.
Perhaps a little nerves here. There's a swamp. And we'll see the top card of the deck here in just a moment. But the creatures are going to bite the dust. And there should be a reveal. Sylvan Caryatid now will be turned face down, as Courser was in play while that fetch land was occurring. The follow-up here from Mondello looks like it may be a morph. And it is in Den Protector. Here comes the Courser for 2.
Now, Jake can do this instead of casting the Thoughtseize this turn because Brenda's hand has 2 copies of Stormbreath Dragon. He can't do anything about that, so he can use the mana more efficiently this turn and then strip the other Stormbreath Dragon out the following turn.
Here's 5 mana. There's Stormbreath Dragon. There's the attack for 4. Mondello's going to go down to 13. A predictable play there from Smith, but a good one nonetheless as we head back Mondello's way.
Though Jake is actually doing fine in a damage race. He's got 4 damage on the table against 4 on the other side. He's going to pick up some points of life here and there from Courser Crewfix. Certainly has more spells in hand.
Abzan Charm the draw. Not an answer to Stormbreath Dragon, of course, due to it having protection from white, but can also still accelerate the damage race if necessary.
Exactly. You know, the Stormbreath Dragon's a little bit obnoxious for Jake right now because his removal is Abzan Charm. He has the ability to get back Dromoka's Command from the graveyard, but that doesn't help either. Protection from white coming up pretty nice here.
Yep.
But Jake can still maybe win this game just by being more efficient in the damage race.
There is Thoughtseize. Dragonlord Atarka, Sylvan Caryatid, Stormbreath Dragon. Stormbreath Dragon going to bite the dust. Mondello going to go down to 11.
But this is not great news for Jake. We knew about this hand, but you know, Brenda next turn can cast the Sylvan Caryatid, and then Jake may be playing against Dragonlord Atarka in a turn.
Yep. There are also some scary top decks too. Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker, another copy of Stormbreath Dragon.
What actually might be better for Brenda next turn is just by casting the Sylvan Caryatid, using the Haven of the Spirit Dragon to get the Stormbreath Dragon back.
Sure.
And you're looking at Jake right now at 11, going up to 12. That's exactly 12 points of damage over the course of those turns.
Deathmatch Retro goes to the bottom. Siege Rhino's the top card of the deck. That'll mess some things up. Den Protector is going to be unmorphed. Something's going to be coming back. It'll be Thoughtseize. Dragonlord Atarka and Sylvan Caryatid are the choices. So actually an interesting decision. Gotta go with the Caryatid, strand the Dragonlord.
I like that play a lot too. It not only strands the Dragonlord, but it also makes the recursion of the Stormbreath Dragon more complicated as well. Also makes dealing monstrous with Stormbreath Dragon more complicated. Mana right now is what Brenda really needs for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, that's the real hiccup right now.
And Jake, you know, even if Brenda's able to play the game in such a way to get to Dragonlord Atarka, Jake's got so much stuff right now and a Siege Rhino coming that he might be able to just overpower it.
In comes Stormbreath. 4 damage to be dealt. Mondello down to 6. I guess we'll get to find out what the draw was here in just a moment. It was a copy of Thunderbreak Regent. Timely.
Better than most draws in this spot.
Indeed. Siege Rhino the draw. Forest on top of the deck. Jake will play that Forest. He's up to 7. And there's Obzon Charm. There will be a trigger. He'll go down to 4, but he's going to gain some life back. And with an attack here of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Smith is going to go down to 4. Mondello will bring her down to 1, and he will gain life. Go up to 7. There are top decks that can win the game here for Brenda Smith, and we'll see if she can find one.
Draconic Roar, another Stormbreath Dragon. Definitely some kills here.
With the way she has drawn her card, however, I do not think it was a winner, and it is not. So Jake Mondello is going to win game number 1 here over Brenda Smith. Obzon Megamorph up a game here over Jun Dragons, and a pretty close one there to start.
Oh, that was a squeaker. Brenda there definitely drawing live going into her last turn there. You can see some of the vulnerability that Obzon has to Stormbreath Dragon because Jake was ahead on basically every axis of the game, but Stormbreath Dragon was still almost enough for Brenda to pull that one out.
We'll take a look at the sideboards. We will start with Brenda Smith and her Jun Dragons deck. You'll find 4 copies of Goblin Rabble Master, an additional copy of Outpost Siege. There's already 1 of those in the main deck. 2 Destructive Revelry, 3 Dilea's Disciple, 2 Hornet Nest, a Seismic Rupture, a Anger of the Gods, and a Murderous Cut.
Definitely interested in Anger of the Gods here, which is a card I think we're going to see a lot more of now with Deathness Raptor and Den Protector showing up in decks. The Murderous Cut here is pretty attractive to me. I also like the Outpost Siege.
What do we see for options here for Jake?
1 copy of Sorin, Solemn Visitor, 3 copies of Drowned Sorrow, Narashan Cleric, 2 copies of Durest, Crux of Fate, and Utter End, a Thoughtseize, and Elspeth's Sun Champion, a Falton Invocation, and Obzon Spiritualist, and 2 cards that I cannot read because of Jake's handwriting. Maybe you can provide some insight.
Ooh, this is fun. Where should I look? We have, boy, that's embarrassing. That's just the worst handwriting I've ever seen.
All right, well,
He's playing with a 13-card sideboard as far as we're concerned.
For the purposes of coverage here, again, the removal spells. Utter End's a little bit slow and doesn't tag Stormbreath Dragon, but I still think it's reasonably powerful in this matchup. Foul Tongue Invocation seems pretty solid. Elspeth is pretty good in matchups like this. The additional Thoughtseize can come in. I think Sorin is fine in this matchup. There's some options.
You know, what do we do when we have handwriting that's illegible like this? How should we treat the player?
Well, I'm sympathetic. My handwriting is not great. What's curious here is that the handwriting gets worse as the deck list progresses. His creature column, for example, a little messy, totally illegible. The spells gets worse, lands starting to get even shakier, and the sideboard is just...
Seems like someone was under the old time gun.
Perhaps.
Yes, I can tell. Season 2 schedule is what we're going to take a look at here. Of course, we started things off in Syracuse. Chris Van Meter won that with Green-Red Dragons. Providence is where we were at last weekend. We watched Oliver Tomiko win that with Obzon Reanimator. We're here in Cleveland. We'll find out what happens there. Next weekend, going to Portland.
Yep, and now remember, that's the show that got moved from Seattle, so that's in Portland now. After that, take a week off, go to Dallas, Legacy the weekend after that in Worcester, Massachusetts, and then the Season 2 Invitational tied to the Origins Game Fair, Columbus, Ohio. Modern and Standard is the invitational formats with a 2-day, $20,000 Modern Open Series event. Me, you, and Matthias will be calling that one. And I just deciphered what the card was, perhaps his best card in the matchup.
Okay.
Hidden Dragon Slayer.
All right, that one's good.
That's very good.
That one's good, actually. That's a nice one. Now, don't forget, during Season 2, all Season 2 long, Polar Plunge playmat is available, free, limited edition, no string attached, as you like to say, available at Open Series competitors until May 23rd.
Just show up, sign up for the main event, and get one of these as part of the package. It's that simple.
Season 3 will have something else coming down the pipeline if you're looking for unique playmats, so stay tuned for that as we turn our attention back to the match, and Hidden Dragon Slayer probably is pretty nice in this matchup. You were correct.
Though again, still problematic that it's not a great answer to Stormbreath Dragon.
Indeed.
But it handles a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a recurring theme here. I mean, Jake's got a lot of really good answers to everything except Stormbreath Dragon. Now, he still has a couple of copies of Hero's Downfall on this list. He's got 3 copies of Thoughtseize. You saw that game. Brenda had a Stormbreath Dragon, and Jake was still able to overpower it and sort of answer it in a sideways way. But he is vulnerable to that card.
As most decks are.
Yeah, no two ways about it. It's a vulnerability. Most of the other cards in Brenda's list, Jake can handle for the most part, but Stormbreath definitely capable of beating Jake.
Well, game number 2 will be underway here between Brenda Smith and Jake Mondello. Mondello, of course, former Open Series champion, Grand Prix runner-up last time he was here in Cleveland, and just about a month and a half ago for the Grand Prix. So it's been a good stretch of months here for Mondello. We'll see if he can keep things going here with his Obzon Megamorph deck, which is getting to be pretty popular. Den Protector, Death Miss Raptor, a very potent combination of cards. So many different ways that you can build Abzan, of course, and this is just one of many. It looks to be a pretty powerful one. Again, these Megamorph cards are all pretty good.
I think we're going to see a lot of this as long as the format isn't about decks that lock up the ground. That's the one place where Death Miss Raptor does not look very impressive. Or decks that are capable of, they're establishing Elspeth, or they're generating so much. Sometimes the builds of Sultai Reanimator are capable of doing this, where there's just too much stuff, and a 3/3 Death Toucher is not worth very much as the game is going on. But Esper Dragons is not that kind of deck. Your attackers are valid as the game goes on, especially a 3/3 Death Toucher. That's something that's going to be trading with a card or dealing damage. So that package is very powerful right now because the format's pretty slow, but still pretty productive to be attacking on the ground, which it isn't always when the format slows down.
We'll see if Jund Dragons can tie things up here against a very powerful Abzan deck. This Jund Dragons deck, however, not really missing powerful cards. Has plenty of those.
Yep.
See Jake's hand a couple copies of Siege Rhino and Fleecemane Lion. Or it looks like he only has one land, so he'll be sending it back.
I was about to say Hero's Downfall. It sounds silly to say, but one of Jake's most important cards in the matchup. I know it's just a versatile, powerful card, but given his vulnerability to Stormbreath Dragon, there's a lot of desire to have as many copies of that card as possible. But his one land was Caves of Kolos, and that one's just got to go back.
Yep. So Jake will be looking at 6 cards here in just a moment.
If it's a Scry land, if it's a Sansa Citadel, you can maybe talk about keeping that kind of hand, but on Caves, it's just got to go back. And honestly, with this deck being as mana hungry as it is, I think all the one-landers just have to go back.
Abzan is an incredibly mana hungry deck, as we have seen.
Especially now with the Megamorph package, because that's your mana's tied up the entire game. I mean, we saw last round with Eric Rill where it looked like he was flooding out, kind of, but he was just doing so much with his mana every single turn.
There's only one land yet again. It's a copy of Temple of Malady. You saw his hand there. Heroes Downfalls, Hidden Dragon Slayer, Courser, Abzan Charm as well. See if Mondello will go down to 5.
This is a risky hand, no doubt about it, but this is a hand with some real upside, as opposed to the first 7-card hand he had where he had to draw very, very well, and the hand had limited upside. This hand's great if Jake can string together some lands.
I couldn't mulligan this hand fast enough. Now, I am very pro-mulligan, as you know, but...
You're pro-mulligans to 5?
Who cares?
That's... I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, who cares? That hand's not that good. He has to draw 2 lands. There's a Temple. Let's see where this card goes. His first draw was not good. The Temple Scry put one to the bottom. You can, like, he can mulligan to a 3-land, 2-spell hand and probably get to play.
Right. The thing is, if you're weighing this hand against one of his better 5-card hands, then it's right to mulligan, but he might just have a bad 5-card hand.
That's true.
You don't guarantee that you mulligan into a good 5-card hand.
I understand that. There's no guarantee that you mulligan in anything. There's land number 2, Windswept Heath. I think his hand is like pretty clunky with all these 3s.
Some of his better 3s, though.
They are some of the better 3s, that's for sure. I think we're going to have a Thunderbreak Regent, we will. Pass the turn back. Sansa Citadel the draw. Like he can mulligan into a hand with, like, I don't know, a Thoughtseize, 2 lands, something else. Thoughtseize can maybe mess some things up.
Right. I agree that his very, very good 5-card hands are probably better than that 6 if he stumbles a little bit on his mana, but that hand has some upside. I'm not saying he should for sure keep it. It's just I don't think it's fair to compare it to what does one of his very good 5-card hand looks like, because there's no promise that that's the 5 you draw up.
I might also be fine with that situation. Like, to me, it doesn't even have to be like a very good 5-card hand. Like 4 lands a spell means that like all the cards I draw I can probably play.
Sure, that's also true.
I also just like mulliganing a bunch. Like I don't like keeping 1-landers.
Fair enough.
I just hate it.
The decks that I typically play are not very good at mulliganing,
Sure.
and so that also might distort my perspective on these things a little bit.
Outpost Siege after an Elvish Mystic. And a passing of the turn over to Mondello.
Outpost Siege is very important for Brenda to have on that turn because Jake has so many copies of Hero's Downfall that if Brenda is just curving out with creatures, Jake might be able to keep his head above water at least for a little while. Now there's a lot of pressure on him to have removal spells and do other stuff because Brenda's going to generate a very large advantage with his Outpost Siege.
Mondello's going to sacrifice his Windswept Teeth, go get himself Plains. Outpost Siege, of course, on Khans. Here's Courser. Somebody's looking for a land. Hit. Sandstep Citadel. Let's see the next card. It'll be another Courser. Pass the turn back. So Thunderbird Huge will get in yet again. The trigger from Outpost Siege will net a Sylvan Caryatid. And this is a pretty easy place to start, in the air.
Jake probably with a sigh of relief that wasn't Stormbreath Dragon.
Yeah, no Haste Dragon here. There's the Caryatid. It makes you wonder exactly what Smith is working with in the grip. There's a Wooded Foothills. It's another Caryatid. So perhaps flooding out a little bit here is Brenda as we head back Mondello's way. Mondello's going to draw that Courser of Crewfix. We'll take a look at the next card. It's a Temple of Plenty. Mondello will take the Temple of Plenty. It enters the battlefield. Scry and Courser trigger, Master of the Unseen. I have a feeling that might be going downstairs.
Jake's hand has no shortage of things to do with his mana. He's a little bottlenecked right now. Wow, okay, gonna keep it. I would assume that would have gone back real fast, but maybe his hand involves so much unmorphing that just as a life gain effect, it's potent for him. I don't think Jake's plan here is to be spending 4 mana to make a manifest token for a while, but it's possible he can just fit the mastery into his curve and then start gaining a lot of life.
Well, he must be happy enough with that card to keep it. I do agree with you. He's got plenty to do in his hand.
Yeah, he just must value gaining life here, which I totally understand.
Does make sense.
Especially against the Outpost Siege, you know, Brenda's going to have action here for most of the game because it's not leaving the table.
Yep. Outpost Siege trigger. Destructive Revelry. And then there will be a drawing of the card. I think the question is, was that, Jake is wondering if that was like a draw, did she draw the card or not? And it looks like they're going to say that that was a drawing of the card. Interesting ruling there.
Yeah, a lot of that depends on just language that's being used at the time.
Indeed. There's Absalom Charm to take care of the Thunderbreak.
I feel like from Brenda's side of the table, that's at least worth an appeal.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll see how this Destructive Revelry is going to be used now that it is in hand. There is no onus to actually need to cast that card right away now, given that the Outpost Siege trigger was missed. As a result, can save it for the Master of the Unseen or can just use it to kill the Courser. It looks like she's going to save it. Top card of the deck is Nurbor. There's another Courser. And now here's Norborg. Elspeth's is the next card. I think we may have a morph here, and we will. It's a copy of Hidden Dragon Slayer. We'll see how this Destructive Revelry wants to be used, if it will continue to be saved, is the question.
Well, it's gotten a little bit less attractive to use it now that there's a second Courser in play.
Yep. Trigger. Temple. Somebody needs a dragon, preferably one with haste. Temple's not a bad place to start. Take a look at the top card. We'll see where Smith wants to put this scry. And see her consulting the hand. It's going to go to the bottom.
And now Jake's hand is just pretty loaded. Brenda needs a lot of high impact cards strung together now.
There's Draconic Roar with no dragon to reveal. Yikes.
I mean, we know about the Destructive Revelry in Brenda's hand, but you get the sense of the rest of the hand is it's lands or it's reactive stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing that plays to the board, really.
There's Destructive Revelry to take out a Courser. Now passing the turn. Elspeth the draw. Top card of the deck is Fleece Main Lion. There's Master of the Unseen. And now we'll find out if it was better served to save the Destructive Revelry for that, or if it was better to take out the Courser, as the top card here is Thunderbreak Regent from the Outpost Siege.
And now Jake has a lot of control with how he wants to use this mastery. This top card of the deck is revealed with Courser, so on spots where he masteries something over that isn't that attractive, he can just cast the spells. And on the spot where there's a creature, well, it's a lot more attractive to turn that one down.
Wood of Foothills will be sacrificed. Forest or Mountain coming, and it will be a forest. So we know at least Thunderbreak Regent is an option this turn. Makes you wonder what the others are, excuse me.
With Jake trying to commit a turn here to manifesting, it's a really good spot to have something big, and it looks like Brenda does.
I think you're right. That's Greatest Claws. For a lot. I believe 10, yep.
Yeah, this just looks like a kill.
Yeah, that's a lethal fireball. One of Magic's more simplistic plays.
All right, sweet. On to game 3. Easy enough.
Brenda Smith will tie things up here against Jake Mondello. Crater's Claws, a lethal one for 10. Means that Jund Dragons and Abzan Megamorph will play a third game.
You can see Jake right now kind of going over that sequence in his head there because he died with 6 spells in his hand. There were spots where he could have gained life. He could have even used a removal spell on an Elvish Mystic there to prevent Crater's Claws from being lethal. Now, I'm not saying that he should be necessarily casting a Hero's Downfall in his main phase to prevent that sort of outcome, but it is worth going back there to see maybe if there were spots where he could have slotted in a little bit of life gain into one of his turns to prevent that sort of outcome.
Well, he's going to go back to the drawing board here for game number 3. Brenda Smith will do the same. So we will talk about the spring creature collection, not the winter one. We've got the spring one here. Finally, some pretty cool stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, this is the culmination of a lot of game nights plus a little bit of extra action as we typically do. The April Kitten, the May Bee, the June Bunny, and the Delver of Squeakrits.
It rolls off the tongue.
That's going to take me a little
You
while.
have to work on that. Squeakrits.
Delver of Squeakrits. All available on card sleeves, playmats, dice bags. You can head over to StarCityGames.com/creature collection to order items today, or just head over to the dealer booth at any open we're running or any Grand Prix we're vending at.
The Delver is working on some cheese there, as you can see. Many people, as this was unveiled yesterday on social media by Star City Games, wondering what the Delver of Squeakrits morphs into. Quite the question. It's very unclear. It has not. I don't know if design went that far.
I don't know if there's any mouse-related word that rhymes with insectile or aberration. I suspect the answer is no.
Probably not, no.
But I'll think about it a little bit.
Okay. I know there's just a lot of cheese in the works there, which I can certainly appreciate because cheese is fantastic. StarCityGames.com/creature collection to add to your collection today.
I have a feeling that the kitten playmat's going to be pretty popular.
I have a feeling you're correct, yes. And the bee, probably not so much. Though, after taking a longer look at the bee, now that I have it up close and personal, the bee is holding a shield, has a helmet and some goggles, and is also holding, looks to be some sort of weaponry here.
Sort of shades of the Legends Killer Bees artwork.
Yes, but not as hairy.
Not quite as hairy, no.
Yeah, that's what it's missing out on.
This is a killer bee that shaved its legs. As opposed to the very hairy legs on the Legends. My goal is to get this piece of art onto the broadcast on average like 4 times a show. I just can't get enough of this one.
You're not doing bad. You started early here. Round 2, you've already got it up once.
They make it really easy when they put some bee products into the promotional material.
They do.
That really gives me a lot of opportunities to bring up that card.
Bee just really didn't have the time to shave its legs. I didn't realize that the legs were so hairy. I wonder if that was part of what was asked for in the design. Make sure the B has very hairy legs.
Yeah.
Gonna have to get it have to have a sponsor with Gillette perhaps. Something as far as shaving is concerned. Looks like Jake's gonna take another mulligan.
Now that was a disciplined mulligan that you will really like. That was a 3-land hand with 4 good spells and no green mana and a pretty green tilt to the hand.
Get that out of here.
And I'm on board with you there. That's a slightly aggressive mulligan, but one that I agree with.
Get that out of here.
Hand's got very limited upside.
Yeah. See you later, hand. Mulliganing is great. You know what? When I start playing Magic, I'm just gonna start every game with 6 cards. That's it.
It's probably an underrepresented competitive edge.
Yeah. Starting after Portland, because I'm playing Portland next week, and after that, where I'll probably never play a tournament again. Boom, that's just what I'm gonna do. If I'm playing Magic Online, I'm just gonna click mulligan immediately, before I even look at the opening hand.
Well, I don't know if anyone's really tried this before, so.
The 7th card is a luxury. Sandstep Citadel to start things off here for Mondello. A Forest and Elvish Mystic here for Smith. Temple of Silence here for Jake. That top card goes to the bottom. We'll head back Smith's way.
Looks like Jake's mulligan was just fine here.
Yeah, duh.
I didn't disagree with that mulligan.
Mulligan's great. Of course his hand's good. He mulliganed. There's a Windswept Heath. If you keep 7, you're basically unbeatable.
Well, I don't know if that's true because most matches, both players are keeping 7 and someone loses. So.
Good point. Good point.
I'm not a mathematician or whatever, but I just don't know if that point holds.
Is it time for a Courser? Yes, sir. Take a look at the top card. It's a Temple of Malady.
Good spot for Destructive Revelry.
Doesn't look like Smith has it, though, so she'll just draw a card. A fetch land here, I believe it would have Foothills. We'll put Smith down to 19. There's a mountain. And perhaps it's Dragon time. There's Thunderbreak Regent. Pastor Mega Mondello. Temple of Malady, the draw. Top card of the deck is Dramoka's Command. Three mana. It's another Courser. And now a Temple. Gain 2 life, will Mondello.
Pretty good news for Brenda here. Gets at least 1 hit in with a Thunderbreak Regent.
Yep.
This is kind of a turn off for Jake. The second Courser not worth very much.
Dramoka's Command is the card in question. Let's see what Mondello wants to do with it. Trying to work his way towards Elspeth, Sun's Champion. That's the card in hand here for Jake. Mondello's going to leave that Dramoka's Command on top to draw next turn, and we will head back Smith's way. Smith will take a draw step.
Dramoka's Command, potentially a very powerful insurance policy against the Crater's Claws that killed him last game.
Very true. Don't see that mode come up very often.
It's possible Jake's saying, well, with my curve here into Elspeth, I can kind of handle most of Brenda's plays that way, and I just need to protect myself from getting fireballed out.
Bloodstained Mire was step number 1. The Regent attacking is step number 2. And now here's another Thunderbreak Regent. Jake Mondello is under the gun as he draws that Dramoka's Command. Temple of Malady, the top card of the deck. That'll enter the battlefield. That, of course, will trigger Coursers and a little scry action here. Windswept Heath is the card that Jake is looking at.
Doesn't need that one. He's got land number 6 untapped in hand already for Elspeth next turn.
Siege Rhino on top of the deck. That's not so bad. Coursers may be coming in. And they are. Smith will take 4. Mondello will follow up with Dramoka's Command to give his Courser a +1/+1 counter and take care of that Elvish Mystic. So stunt the mana a little bit.
Right, I imagine that was before damage there.
I would think so. Bloodstained Mire is getting sacrificed. Perhaps the Swamp is on the way. And it is. So you see the life totals here. Smith at 13, Mondello at 18. Courser doing a nice job of keeping Mondello's head above water.
Still, things look pretty promising for Jake right now. Elspeth's minus next turn will be very potent.
Indeed.
He's got Siege Rhino and a board. We saw Brenda capable of stealing some wins from a pretty low base, especially on the back of Critter's Claws.
There's land number 5. It's a forest. Is it Stormbreath Dragon time? It's Sarkin time. It's actually quite good. So here's an attack for 12. Mondello's going to go down to 6.
This is still a fine board here for Elspeth.
Yep.
As Jake has the power in play to attack Sarkin down. And Elspeth's minus handles the rest.
And Siege Rhino's on top of the deck yet again. There's the land. Mondello's going to go up to 8. Elspeth predictably is going to minus. Get rid of these Thunderbreak regions. Pass the turn back over to Smith. Take a draw step. It's going to be a doozy.
Stormbreath Dragon is still mighty fine here.
Yep. As it oftentimes is, Stormbreath Dragon always a really powerful top deck.
Critter's Claws less so, because Jake's getting life off these coursers, and he's got some Siege Rhino set up as well.
Elspeth, I know a card that's not really, I suppose, as central to the metagame as it used to be, but still quite powerful.
It's very good in the mirror match. It's not good all the time against these red haste decks, but it still has its spots of being awesome.
There's Courser. Murderous Cuts on top of the deck, and if Courser's to play that turn, you got to be thrilled for Jake Mondello.
Exactly. Stormbreath Dragon is the thing he's fearing the most there, and if Brenda doesn't have it, Jake's got a lot of resources to work with. He can easily overpower a Courser.
Looks like a Murderous Cut's going to be cast here. That'll take care of the larger Courser. Pass the turn back over to Mondello, but those Coursers have already done a lot of nice work this game, as Siege Rhino is going to be the draw. Crux of Fate is on top of the deck. There's a morph. And an unmorph now. A little fight action there. Soldier tokens will join from Elspeth. And a passing of the turn.
Still potentially setting up a lethal Siege Rhino or close to it next turn.
Enoch Survivalist, the card to take care of that Courser. Of course, when it does unmorph, kills a enchantment or artifact. Unmegamorph, pardon me. Just a nice little one of in Jake's sideboard. There's Destructive Revelry. Don't see Enoch Survivalist all that often. But Jake really has a morph theme going with his deck.
Yep.
With Dent Protector, Death Miss Raptor, Hidden Dragon Slayer, and now Enoch Survivalist as well.
The more and more that you can sideboard more morphs to fit in the roles, the more these synergies are going to just come up incidentally over the course of the game.
And Mastery of the Unseen, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like Jake is anticipating this coming up all the time as you see a Siege Rhino here. It's just, it comes up often enough that it's worth playing something like Survivalist over a different disenchant effect.
Naturalize,
yep,
or
right.
what have you.
Exactly.
Reclamation Sage, another option that we see Abzan players use on occasion. It is a little bit more expensive, but there are trade-offs, of course. Reclamation Sage is just a flat 3 mana that gets the job done, but sometimes your opponent doesn't draw their artifact or enchantment right away, so perhaps you'd rather have a morph creature instead that you can just have there kind of waiting in the wings, which is what you can see happen with the Survivalist. Mondello with a commanding board position now. And I think we'll see Brenda Smith probably draw her last card of the game and match here in just a moment, as I do not believe there is a top deck to get her out of this situation. And there is an extension of the hand. Jake Mondello is going to win this match over Brenda Smith, 2-0. Abzan Megamorph will take care of Jund Dragons. Mondello off to another great start here from Cleveland.